Hello again, everyone. Ambassador Terry with another What Are You Doing interview and for Lumina Interfaces book launch series. And my guest is Hava Siegelman. Welcome, Hava.
Hey, Ambassador Terry, thank you very much for inviting me here.
I'm excited to have you. And ladies and gentlemen, her contribution is pretty cool. So here comes the famous question, Hava Siegelman. What are you doing with the Lumina book?
So I contributed a section, a chapter to this book. And this is about artificial intelligence and the capability to make artificial intelligence that is stronger and stronger. So it's kind of foundational work that, I started already in the early 90s and it has been growing. So since then I was saying, neural networks can do really much more than your regular digital computer. And, by learning online and doing these type of things, you get so much more than programming. So at the time then we started this work, it was hard for people to understand because they needed to control the machine very much. Now I think they understood that if you want to have good AI, we need to let the system grow and update and understand. And just to say, so there are kind of a different ways to reach it and that are mathematically equivalent. So I was writing about it. So there is a model, computational model, that we call super Turing computation. So Turing is the Alan Turing that is started the basis of all computer science. Today he has a digital model, and his idea at the time was that he wanted to simulate what they used to call calculator. Calculators were people, usually women, who were sitting in the back room, maybe of a bank or other financial institution, and they're just writing, sums and multiplication. And he wanted kind of to understand how they do it and create a machinery to do that. So kind of computer science today is really based on Alan Turing's idea. And what we suggested is what we call super Turing computation, which is computation that is beyond that. And we came with a few ways of how to reach it. And one of them is the simple move, instead of having only digital computation, is the incorporation of some analog computing. But you have to do it very smartly because when you train, when you learn, it's really a cross analog domain. It's like a continuum, how you change the parameters. There are many, many parameters in AI. You have to change them smoothly or else everything fails. So they kind of explained first the theory. Then actually I went to DARPA. I was there for a few years and I ran a program that is kind of one of the practical way of obtaining this type of super Turing computation. We called the program Lifelong Learning Machine. And I'll tell you kind of the idea. So the classical AI in the 80s was that, you write program or you go to an expert, you ask him, how do you do these things? And then you write it and the network does. Then the neural network started. Actually, they started, already in the late 40s, but didn't catch as much. And the idea was that instead of asking an expert what you do, you watch an expert and you see what he does as responses to many things. You don't bother him. And you take all this input and output, like the input and response, and you train a neural network. So this was kind of like the second wave for AI. The problem is that both the first and the second were assumed that you do it in advance. So you take in advance, ask the person, the expert, how you do, or you look in advance and you train the parameter in advance and then put them. And then you put it in your self-driving car, or then you put it in your chat at home. And the issue is that this type of more classical AI, once you finish preparing them, there is nothing you can do. It's kind of like my son that after first grade, he says that he knows to read and write. He doesn't need to continue with school. So kind of like their idea. So the reality is that we don't want people like that. Like if I just know what I learned until some age and then I'm not able to be flexible and adapt to situation, people will not consider me very intelligent, even if I got good grades in second grade. So the whole idea is about flexibility and adaptivity and tuning and context viewing and taking things from the past and putting them in the current. So not to say, I know the song, maybe I learned it 5 years ago, but bring it all together. Now I have this capability, let's do that. So we suggested that DARPA, I suggested that program that was called Lifelong Learning Machine. The idea was it never stops learning and it can use things from different time. And putting it together, it actually provably is a super Turing computational power. So this is one way to get super Turing computational power. While the other one is with a combination of analog and everything you have to do smartly. So we kind of explain how to do it in a way that you don't just throw things into a soup. It will not do to anything. It's like how to do this communication, how to do this adaptation, how to go forward to create something that is both more intelligent and more, very important to me and also for the book, is much more human interface smart. Because if we have great AI and we don't really communicate it well with the human, it will just do what people like to write books and movies on about these robots that kill everybody and ruin the world. But once we have
Lovely,
a human
lovely. Thank
as
you.
part of that, that's wonderful because we get the person kind of smarter. We can think of the computer as an extension of the person. It's kind of like together you have something very good and very positive. And that's kind of like the direction that I'm going to. So when I talk about lifelong learning or I'm talking about super Turing computation, it always has the human part in. It's so much more human, it's so much more biology. It's something that is very easy to understand and comprehend and communicate with.
I love it. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, was this a good experience or what? Javi Sigelman, thank you so much for being with us today. And ladies and gentlemen, leave some comments. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, so bye for now.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Hello again, Ambassador Terry here with another Lumina Interfaces book launch interview series. And my guest is Sergio Fernandez de la Cova. Sergio, welcome.
Ambassador Terry, it's an honor to be here, part of this anthology and this conversation. Thank you for having me here, and just really excited to talk about the book. And it's the critical moment of which this book is being released as we face converging global crises from environmental to economic instability to institutional fragmentation. What is needed isn't just innovation, but strategic foresight. So I'm excited to be one of the contributors focusing on what is often overlooked and very important force of nature and change, our family offices. So thank you for having me here.
I am excited to have you here. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy does some cool stuff all over the world, and his part of the anthology is really cool. I've had a look, you might say. So, Sergio, tell us about how you got involved in Lumina and this wonderful global effort for November 28th.
Well, well, again, Miriam is, as we all know, is a force of nature, and basically, she chased me down and was like, "I really want you to be part of this," and a lot of the work that we do, we're just so focused, head down, that we're implementing and really trying to scale the work. We believe we live in one of the most important times in history to really, create change and be part of that change that everybody looks back and says, I wish I was a part of. And so for us, we live the now. And when I was introduced to her and her passion, we found ourselves in a very equally, one would say crazy, but focused and passionate and looking to drive change. And it really, got me excited, her vision. I love the idea of hosting at the CERN and being able to launch at, right there in the middle of the, having matters and particles come together to recreate the Big Bang. And so just excited about, that kind of being a metaphor of, this time that we're living today is really that new Big Bang moment. And we all need to work together. So to me, it was a great opportunity to just say yes and follow her lead.
And it's quite a lead at that, my friend, quite a lead at that. I was just talking to her earlier. Her and Maria's got 1,100 plus pages going in this, 126 plus contributors. What an effort. What a book, right?
Exactly.
Maria was telling me about how they got the magazine up at the International Space Station some years ago. Just a lot of fun stuff on this journey this week, let me tell you. So, what's next for you? Are you going to be able to make it to CERN or?
Yes, yes. My goal is really to help drive the conversation as well, because I think, when you think about the institutional opportunity, right, it's not just nature, it's about innovation, it's about how we're blending technology with a purpose, with human centric, right? And where, we're looking to, again, same time with these events and this opportunity to preserve value, identity and create legacy. And I think that there's a huge opportunity as we're all coming together is, to me, one of our core focuses on the foundation is we focus on four pillars: nature, technology, capital, and multilateralism, right? Multilateralism is what shapes the policies around it. The capital we need to create the technologies to preserve and protect our planet. And Mother Nature is an imperative. A lot of people, are forgetting that nature is the infrastructure. Without nature, we have nothing. And preserving nature is not only a moral imperative, but it is an economic one. So once we share with people and show them that it is an economic opportunity to help, be part of, evolving the planet, it really is exciting. So to me, not only is this an important moment that Miriam has really put together, but also it's an important opportunity to continue to sort of create this echo that gets out of the echo chamber, if you will, right, and gets out to the broader, global community, and really bring in not only what we work on, bring in families, next generation technologies. I always tell people, I'm like, we do what doesn't exist, never been done, and is impossible. That's what we focus on. So you could imagine when Miriam and I got together, we really kind of, blended really well with our visions. And what we do is
Absolutely.
we take on what others won't. We take the risk. As a foundation, what we do is we go out and pursue what others are afraid to do. We take the risk, we make the investments, and then we bring it back into the multilateral system so the governments don't have to spend that type of money in risk and what some would call sort of the creative space, and then build it into infrastructure, right? And really, the idea is not reinventing the wheel; it's just really making it faster. And when we're celebrated just this year, 80 years of multilateralism. If you saw the UN 80, and the 80 years of multilateralism really told us a lot that for 80 years we've been doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And so, what really is the opportunity that we're living in today is we have an opportunity to grab that same infrastructure and prepare it for tomorrow. And that's really when
Lovely.
you mean space, technology, quantum, AI, nature, innovation, tokenization, all of these different things. And we need physicists, we need environmentalists, we need mathematicians, we need computer science, all the different, sort of pillars to come together and really help us drive the opportunities of tomorrow.
I love it. I love it. Did I tell you we're going to love this, ladies and gentlemen? Leave some comments. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much, Sergio. This was fantastic. And thank you, as always, ladies and gentlemen, for listening in and giving us your support. So bye for now.
Goodbye. Thank you, Terry. Thank you so much.
Hello again, everyone. Ambassador Terry with another What Are You Doing? Lumina book launch interview series. And my guest is Subs Acharya. Welcome, Subs.
Thank you, Ambassador. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you as well. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to like him too. So here comes a famous question. Subsacharya, what are you doing with Lumina?
Yeah, so I've had a very interesting journey with Miriam, and if there's a one-liner that I would like to provide you, so what we do is decision intelligence. It's a new industry. Decision intelligence basically means that how do you take the right decisions at the right time in the right way? And what we do is we bring the subjective and the objective worlds together. So it's a very spiritual way. So if you are looking to understand like what we really do, how do we help customers and how do we help Lumina? So what we do is we take the astrology, the physics, the quantum physics, like torus fields and oscillators and all those boring stuff. Then we put a lot of data science and AI into it. And we discover patterns after patterns. It's very mathematical because it has a lot of astrological components, but a lot of data science and AI components, so a lot of math. But we bring the spiritual worlds and the objective worlds for either a business or for a human. So business would mean you want to do a mergers and acquisitions. Sure, we'll be able to tell you what kind of a company will work, when it has a possibility, so we can simulate towards the future. And then we can actually find out when the final signature would happen or when you need to get it done by. So that's for the business aspect. For the personal aspect would mean people have many different decisions in their lives. We humans live in paradoxes, right? So there's always a quandary. So how do you get out of the contradiction? Well, we have to listen to the universe, and sometimes we can just do it using the data science model, the AI models on, and the physics model based on the astrological energy. So that's what I do. I told you it's going to be crazy.
What do you think about that, ladies and gentlemen? I'm excited. So, what does your part of the book entail, Subs?
So my part of the book has three parts. So part number one is how can we bring spirituality to an ecosystem? So I think that's a gel, right? At the end of the day, how do you work with diverse people together? And ultimately, it boils down to one thing, like how do we accept each other? So that's point number one. Point number two is timing and decisions. And the third is what can you do now? And whatever decision you might take, we might be able to kind of simulate that into the future to find out where things might go, to give you a kind of a sneak peek. So those are the three elements that I do.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Can you expand on the time and decisions?
Yes.
That's very interesting.
So I think the first thing is we should define what a decision is. A decision is you've got choices, many choices, and you basically move with one. Now, that's the easiest way of explaining it, but there's a lot of nuances in that, right? So when you have a number of choices and you are moving with one choice, there are three things that happen. One, you actually negate the rest of the choices. So selection basically means you are eliminating the rest of the possibilities. So that's point number one, right? That's a very interesting element. The second element is you move forward. And the third is it is irreversible, which means as you move forward, you're not looking backward anymore. You're basically looking forward. And as you look forward, that means that you've negated every option and you have moved forward. So that is the definition of a decision. Now, where's the intelligence? The intelligence is that why did we negate all these other options? What is it that those options were not important or was not a priority? And the third piece is that, okay, now you have moved forward. How do you act on it? How do you face the consequences? Because there's a karma or a causality in everything. So now,
Right
as
on.
we move towards the future, it kind of shows you how each and every event or probabilistic events that might happen. And we also want to unravel that to show you what are the consequences of those decisions.
Wow. Was that great or not, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you, Subsacharya, for being with us today. And thank you, folks. Leave some comments below. We're going to be watching for them as we go. Bye bye for
Thank,
now.
thank you, Ambassador.
Well, there you have it. 15 interviews in 14 days. It was a lot of fun. Met some really great people. And I hope you leave some comments down there. Reshare this. This has been an exciting series. That's it for now. So thank you very much for following me and the What Are You Doing podcast each week and